Hello, everyone. This is my first ever live broadcast. Welcome to the Expendable Show for those of you tuning in for the first time. And hopefully, I can figure this shit out. Um, so, I'm going solo today. Usually, I've at least got somebody on, but some people had to go to Helen and go stay in a cabin with my friends and party all weekend. But that's okay. So I'm going to be on my own today, and I want to take the time today, along with covering the news that I usually do. I want to do a book promo day and talk about my previous book. So I'm getting very close to being done with my second book. Um, but first, let's talk about my first book, which is From the Mouth by me. Um, so I didn't I always wanted to write a book and I just never did. And the, my last wife, she just kind of inspired me to do it. Said, just do it, just start writing, just see what happens. And then I got into it, and then I started really getting into a flow, and then I decided to do it. Um, but to give you an idea of my first book, which is entitled From the Mouth, which is supposed to be from my mouth, because I have this like tendency to I don't I don't really stop talking. I just kind of do what I want to do all the time and say what I want to say. I believe in the freedom of speech. Um, so if I have an opinion about something, I'm very adamant about sharing that opinion. Uh, but my book, From the Mouth, what it's about is what I, as an average Joe American, can do. What I think we can do to fix some of our issues with this country. And the book came out in 2022, so this is basically from uh, Biden in office until 2022 is what the time period covers. And we were going through the initial stages of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. We had China and the Taiwan standoff that was real hot there for a second. So I really wanted to agitate on those issues and really look at them and say, what can we be doing better? What can we do different? um, because I think when you look at one of Biden's first things that happened under his administration was the Afghan withdrawal. And they can get on TV all day and say it was a success, but that looked like as far from a success as what I would consider it as far as a military operation. Then after the fact, once he realized that America thought that it wasn't a success, then he said, "Well, it was Trump's plan." Well, not that wasn't Trump's plan. Trump's plan was to get out of Afghanistan altogether, but it wasn't to just do an erratic, rooftop helicopter extraction of as many people as you can get on. A lot of people died that day, so it was not a success. Some of the other issues I cover in that book is our education system. I think us Americans take for granted our K through 12 education. We're being told that it's great, but when you look at our testing from like the fifth grade, I think they do another one at third grade. We actually we test very low compared to other countries around the world. Some people may be going, well, that's not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. Well, it is that big of a deal. We're being surpassed because education ideologies have changed, and we've gone from strictly academia to teaching academia to teaching inclusiveness and things like that. And I don't want to make it sound like every school is doing this. They're not. But when we look at the statistics of the very low, you look at the California schools, in Los Angeles or San Francisco, like those schools, a very small percentage of kids in high school can read. Why is that? Why are we not addressing that? You look at Chicago's education standards, they're very, very low. They don't test out at anything. So why aren't we addressing that? Why is our education falling behind? Why are inner city schools education of a third world country? Like, I don't want to offend any teachers that teach, because I know your resources become limited. I know that's part of the problem. So I'm not going to like throw daggers at the teachers in those schools, because I know that politics plays a role and you're limited as to what you can do with your resources. Most of these teachers are paying out of pocket to get gear or things that these kids need for their everyday class. So we need to take that into consideration. However, when our teachers union, the head of the teachers union is Randy Weingarten. She is a cancer to our American education system, and most people don't even know who she is. And she's the teachers union president, and she's just, let's have more pay for the teachers, less responsibility, let's work from home. It's all, everything she does is counterproductive towards the child. She spends all her time fighting for how do we make this easier on teachers, when all those policies that she creates are actually harmful to the student. You take away their ability to socialize properly. You take away their ability to problem solve. These kids need to know how to problem solve. They need to know how to do simple, education things, and they're not getting that in today's school system. So we have to really like figure out a way to get her out of that position. She's the majority of the problem. The other problem is the Secretary of Education, Cardona. He is basically right on board with Randy Weingarten. They pretty much work hand in hand. So whatever disasters she comes up with, Cardona goes with it. And so that's a problem too. Another issue is racism. So I talk about it in depth in my book. I think that there are better ways to do this instead of having all sides of the fence. It just seems like the government's trying way too hard to keep a racial division in this country. I think I could probably speak on behalf of the majority of the white people in this country. I don't have animosity or issues towards black people. I'm surrounded by people of color all the time, and many of them are some of the greatest human beings I know. So I think when in reality, when you're on the ground and we have to work with each other and we have to be around each other, I think for the most part it's pretty peaceful, and people respect each other, and it's not like what you watch TV and the government's like everybody's racist. I just don't think that's the case. However, there are racist people out there. Um, so what are things that we can do to curb that? I think that you have to put a basis legislation in place that makes it illegal to racially attack people, whether it's verbally. I think those things we need to get rid of it. Racism needs to be a word that's part of our past, not part of our present and future. I do like to see equality. Do I want? So the thing is, they use DEI to categorize people, and that categorization puts you in a certain group that you're only going to get X amount of exposure. And then the other people who are not in that group, they're categorized in another group. And so they're getting a different set of standards. It is a modern day segregation. And DEI is defined to create opportunity for everyone, no matter what you identify as, no matter what your color is, no matter what your ethnicity is. It's supposed to diversify. which I'm all for. I think a lot of people are all for that. We'd like to see more diversification in this country. Um, we are built on that. This country is founded on people of different backgrounds coming together. So I'm not against that. We've become great as people. You know, what country could possibly take 25 different types of people over the 300 years of existence and be as successful as we are? Europe doesn't even do it. There are many countries in the world that don't do it. They don't want to mix. So you have a very large country like us, the United States, that has a very vast diversification, and we've been successful with it. Yeah, we've made a lot of flaws along the way. There are a lot of ethnic groups that were treated incorrectly. But I think from that point till now, we have come a long way. And yes, there's still room for improvement. But I think, you know, some of the things that we can do is to just kill the rest of the racism. Not, you know, I don't want to say that it's not literal. It's a figure of speech that we need to, you know, eliminate it. If you were brought up into being racist, you can be kind of taken out of it, or at least stop the next generation coming up. And it's slowly getting, you're seeing it more and more. But when you have the government on TV all the time saying everybody's racist, you're counterproductive to the process. So the next one is international policy. I talk a lot about international policy and the things that Biden is not doing well. He gets on TV and says we have the best international policy ever. No, all you did was turn the bank transfers back onto the European Union. You didn't fix anything. You didn't make it better. You just gave them their money back that they are expecting to get. You know, that Trump he backed that off, rightfully so, I believe. So then we have new laws that I think that need to be put in place. We have to get Congress under control. They're out of control. They're insider trading. They're fighting amongst each other all the time, and they're catering to their special interests all the time. These are things that we need laws put in place that prevent people who go to Congress from like using our government system to get rich because they know a little bit more and they can influence markets. So we need to stop that, because that's what's empowering corruptness in our government. I also think we need to strengthen our military. We are highly lacking in military. We need to get back on board and be one of the greatest military tactical units on the face of the earth that this earth has ever seen. So we're not doing good enough in the military standard, and I just don't see. I remember when Gulf War happened in 1991, and I was in elementary school. This country lit up with the American flags. This country came together and said, no, Saddam Hussein's done. And we went over there and beat him to a pulp, that whole country. And we were proud. We were proud that our machine went over there and took care of business and stopped the issues that were going on between Iraq and Kuwait. So I want to see more of that. These drawn out 20-year wars we've been getting into, these conflicts, the indirect conflicts that we're involved in now, like I just don't think that's I don't think that's productive. I think we're just enabling more problems. Whereas if we were directly involved, I think these problems would be solved. Or if we had a leader that knew how to negotiate ceasefires and peace treaties, that would help too. Because that's our responsibility too. We should be involved in trying to settle things peacefully. There's no reason why Israel and Gaza hasn't been solved yet. There's no reason why Russia and the Ukraine hasn't been resolved yet. There's no reason why China should always be poking at Taiwan. We should be able to neutralize those things, and we're just not doing it. Either Biden is just not allowing it to happen, or our military leaders are just really bad. Take your pick. We also, in my book, we talk about taking responsibility. So Biden has yet to take responsibility for any failure that he has. He just gets on TV and says everything's great. And in fact, it's not. And he's getting called out for it all the time now. And it's almost ridiculous to watch, because he just doesn't get it. Um, and then I give my, what would happen if I were running things, how would I, you know, if I were, if civil war happened and all the smoke settled, how would all this happen? So I'm not going to tell you what it is. If you want to read the book and read my scenario, it's kind of fun. I had a fun time. I got to get a little creative with things and our domestic, strategic planning. It was fun. But the book is more conservative leaning. I am a conservative. So if you don't necessarily like conservative thought process, don't read it, or read it. Maybe you'll understand some things. I mean, I do have some liberal tendencies on some things, and if you read my book, you'll be able to point them out. Like, okay, well, he's not 100%, on the conservative boat. So then that's pretty much, the breakdown of that book. Now, my next book coming out, I am extremely close. I would say I will be done by the middle of June. And then it will be sent to be published. But it's called The Swiss Effect. So the Swiss Effect took me about a year of research. There's a lot of information. It's basically a lot of rabbit holes, and it's taken a 50,000 piece puzzle that's all broke up and trying to put it all together. That's kind of the best way to describe this book. It's a neutral book. I don't lean conservative or liberal in there. It's mainly with Europe. I have a problem with how Europe does things, and there's an agenda, there's a plan, and the people are all in place to achieve it. That plan is not United States Constitution friendly. It is a world government ran by Europeans plan. And so when Trump gets on TV and he says, they're not after me, they're after you, and I'm just in the way. This is what he means. He means that Europe has this plot, and the plot is based out of Switzerland. And I've given you all the names, all of the agendas, all of the intentions that these people may have, and have exposed it so that way people can look at Europe and go, well, the World Health Organization don't really have our best interests at heart. The World Economic Forum doesn't really have our best interests at heart. All these organizations, I think I covered over 20 of them, but they're not here to help America. They're here to help giant corporations like the United Bank of Switzerland, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street get more wealthy than what they already are. Apparently, $9 trillion is not enough. Apparently, having an umbrella in your hand in every single market and every competitor of the market isn't enough. So I get into depth into that, where everyone in Europe, when these guys go to their G7s and their trilaterals and their Bilderbergs and all these stupid meetings they go to that Biden goes to all the time, that's what they're doing. They're trying to figure out, how do we manipulate the resistance in America, because conservative MAGA movement is what is in the way. They can't finish initiating the plan until Trump's people are gone, because we're in the way, because we'll fight to the death for that Constitution. And they've already manipulated the liberals. You're seeing it already. And I mapped out when this started and when it got migrated over to America and what was supposed to happen and what occurred to cause it to not get fully done here. So, I really, really, really got into that in depth. So if you like a good strategy book, if you like seeing, all the major players and who's, you always hear, well, Biden's not running the country, Obama is. Obama's not running it either. Europe is. And until we all wise up and realize that Europe's still colonizing. they're just doing it in a smarter, more different shadow way. They're down in Africa right now. They're competing with China over land grabs and natural resource grabs. They don't put that on the news. They're all down there arguing over it. And, the UN's trying to cut deals with these, presidents and rebel group people and dictators. Anybody who's running something down there, they're working deals and trying to take the natural resources in return for economic prosperity, as long as they stick to the agenda. So you have the European, they want a corporate global order. You have to remember, when Joe Biden on TV and he says we're going to tax the ultra wealthy, he's not really trying to do that, because the ultra wealthy are the guys who are running the show. It's all for show. You're not seeing, let everybody provide their tax records. Ain't no one paying more taxes. Loopholes have not been closed. They're still there. Then you also have, there's the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. If you do not know what those are, you need to read them. That is the basis. That is the program that they are going to put us on. That's what they want to put us on. So that's kind of the basis, the rundown. There's a lot, like in Switzerland, everything's based in Switzerland. So, you have the satanic overturn. Switzerland is, after reading about Switzerland, there is one of the most evil places on the planet. Just so you know, the ceremonies, the rituals, the stuff that goes on in Switzerland, it's why they're a neutral country. Nobody can lay a finger on them. They're an exception to the rule. So if you want to know all about how Switzerland has masterminded the greatest socialist takeover in the world, please read my book. I've mapped it all out. I did a lot of research, talked to a lot of people who have received several death threats already. That's how you know you're on the right trail. So far, no one showed up at my house yet. So then we go into the weekend's news. It was kind of a quiet news week. Like I'm not real sold on the excitement of the news of the weekend. I just got to scroll down on my feed here. So I was doing a lot of reading over the weekend. Zelensky over in the Ukraine, he's got this, like, he comes over here and he begs for our stuff, and then it takes a minute to get it to him. Well, now we passed the billions and billions of dollars he's going to get in equipment, and then after he gets it, he goes and complains that the West isn't letting us have the tools we need to succeed. We just gave you $1 billion worth of stuff, dude. But then I started reading a little bit more. So there's a stipulation that a lot of people don't know. There's a rule. We'll give you these arms, but you cannot fire into Russia with them, because Putin has come out and he has said, hey, if I find that some of these weapons that you have provided Russia or the Ukraine end up on Russian soil, we're going to start unleashing hell on you. And so the United States has this strict rule. They keep telling Ukraine, we'll do all this stuff for you, but do not let these end up on Russian soil, because it's going to cause a problem for us. And so Ukraine keeps going, okay. Well, the United Kingdom came out and said, you know what? Go ahead and bomb Russia with our stuff. Well, then Putin came out and he said, okay, if I start seeing British flags in my country, I'm going to start bombing yours. And so then, the United Kingdom said, okay, we don't want that. So there's all these things going on with that people don't know. Russia is starting to win this war, like, badly. They've broken through the line that the Ukraine held. They're running out of motivation. They're running out of soldiers. They're just running out. And Zelensky needs to bomb inside of Russia. He needs to hit Russian targets in order to slow down Russia from taking over the country. So Zelensky gets on their media and he says, oh, the West wants this war to end in peace. Peace isn't going to work. Somebody has to win. And so that's him, still trying to get billions more dollars out of us for stuff. Eventually, he's going to come back to Congress and they're going to say, oh, wave their Ukraine flags. And he's going to go, oh, I need more money. And it's never going to end. He wants that war to continue because he's getting filthy rich. And but at least the rest of the world, I think Europe's kind of over it. Like, let's get this thing over with. Having Putin breathing down our neck doesn't help because Russia's not on board with this Europe movement. They've gone backwards in time, actually, and have said, we're going to stay true to our Russian faith and our Russian way of doing things. We're not going to cave into the West and have all these immoral things start happening. So I actually kind of commend them for that. I watch videos all the time of people who have defected and have moved to Russia, and they say, I will never go back. Russia is the greatest place to ever live. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe it's propaganda, maybe it's not. But their value system seems to transpire into mine. So I want things done the old-fashioned way, like go to church, God over everything, treat people with respect and dignity. So that's kind of how that goes. Zelensky's very adamant. He wants this war to continue. It needs to end. And so Putin has reached out to Zelensky and said, hey, we want to sit down and let's talk about this. And so Zelensky is saying, no, I refuse. I'm not going to, make any kind of deals with you. It's stupid. It's stupid. I don't understand why he's not doing it. But at the same time, when you're seeing the amount of money going into Ukraine, it kind of makes sense a little bit. So also this weekend, Biden went to Morehouse here in Atlanta to do a commencement speech for the college kids. And so Biden, he gets there and there's protests, the pro-Hamas protest, pro-Palestinian protest. Everybody's booing him. They're hating on him. And then he gets in, he starts doing a speech and he's talking about the black community because somebody back in Washington said, hey, you're starting to lose the black vote. You should probably say something. So he does this whole speech on how he's gonna vote for me and I'll enrich the black community, which I'll get into it here in a second. But he starts getting called liar. Somebody's yelling liar in the stand, liar, liar. And so it was making him mad. You could see it, but he just kept going on. What you have when you're looking at these things, so everybody's like, oh, wow, the S&P 500's up, the NASDAQ's up, everything's up right now. We just hit a record. And, now Biden's going and trying to, smooth things over with the black vote. Oh, now all of a sudden we're going to get inflation under control. Why did it take you 3 years to start addressing these things? Because it's called election cycle politics. Election cycle politics is when you're up for re-election, you just travel the country and you just solve all the country's problems as long as you vote for me. And then you get voted in. And I don't want to sound like I'm ignorant or anything, but this is one thing that I've talked to a lot of people here in Atlanta in the black community about, and they get tricked into this every time. And they know it. And they're said, well, it's just we vote Democrat. It's just what we do. And so it's kind of one of those things where if it's not working, let's try something different. And now you're starting to see that a little bit in the polling because Trump is gaining the black vote where Biden is losing the black vote. So you're starting to see this transition happen where I think a lot of the black community is finally starting to go, they make us these promises every 4 years. And when we elect them, we don't ever see them again. It's election cycle politics. They're down there to get into your emotions and get you fired up. And then once they get what they want out of you, they bounce. And we have to stop that cycle. These politicians are not doing anything. One of the biggest number one issues in this country right now is our neglect for at-risk communities. We do not do anything for them, not enough. There's programs and there's little things that they're trying to do, but it takes a massive amount of investment in American taxpayer dollars to go into those communities, redo them, put as many resources as they need, trade schools, satellite colleges, anything, jobs, improve the jobs, improve the opportunity to get jobs. We need job fairs at these schools. We need to give them better leadership in these communities so these kids can grow up and say, I want to be just like that guy. He worked hard and he became the CEO of a company. Or I want to be like that guy. My teacher, Mr. Johnson, he worked really hard and he educated himself. He's one of the smartest men I know, and I want to be just as smart as him and teach kids. We need more leadership like that, and there has to be a push. I think that there needs to be a panel in every at-risk community of about 5 great leaders come together and go, how are we going to make this happen? Where's our target areas? How do we improve the stock for these kids so they can go out into the world and be successful members of society? So there's a lot of work to be done don't be tricked by election cycle politics. They're going to continue to do it. All of a sudden, Biden's going to be the Messiah because he's figured out all these things. The answers have always been there. A lot of these, he's just reverting back to policies that Trump had that were successful. And then he's going to go, see, I fixed it. It's like, look, man, if you wouldn't have broken it in the first place, you wouldn't be fixing it now. You'd have a landslide election win right now. But instead, you wanted to follow your communist friends. And that policy was not popular because Donald Trump screwed it up when he beat Hillary. Hillary should have made you an easy in president. So the whole thing's screwed up. And this all goes to my book. Everything that's happening is a result of the events that I talk about in my book. We're living in the European plan right now. And it's the same thing. Donald Trump and conservative America is causing this plan to not get done by 2030 like they want it. They know they're behind. They're going to have to alter their plan, but they're trying to figure out how do we get Trump out of the way. Let's just lock him up in court all election cycle. Well, that backfired on him because now he's gaining on everybody by going to court. So, and now you're seeing these cases start to fall apart where their top are proven liars, and he gets on the stand and lies more. And then, come on, man, that you built your case around that. That's all you got. That New York case is really, really bad. I don't know how it's still a case. The judge needs to throw that one out like ASAP. Then with everything going on in Atlanta with the Fonnie Willis, that's bad too. It's over. They just don't know it. They just ain't admitted it yet. But all these cases they put up on Trump's teams come together and they have fought it. And it's starting to favor Trump. He's starting to come out of it, and they're not going to get any prosecutions out of it. So, but that is our news for the week. And I will keep you updated on when my book comes out, especially when I get my cover art done for that. I'll provide it to the podcast, and so everybody can see what it looks like. I kind of have an idea in my brain of what I want it to look like. So we'll see if I can get one of these graphic design artists to do it up just like I want it. But everybody take care. Be safe. Know where your kids are at. Be kind to each other. Be kind. We're heading into Memorial Weekend next weekend. Remember your fallen. Remember the people that were in your lives at one time. Remember the people that had a high impact in your life. And just do right. It's not hard. I've been in that dark. It's a lot harder to be in the dark. When you're in the light, it's easy to be in the light. I promise. Be kind to each other. All right. I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye. Maybe. All right. Everybody be safe.